Welcome everybody back to the Innovative Agency. It's Sharon Torek here with you today, and we're going to spend some time talking about what I know agency owners are always thinking about, and one of their favorite episode topics, coincidentally, or maybe not, and that is business development, specifically pipeline development, and how to avoid what today's guest refers to as the whack-a-mole game, which I love that. I love, John, that you brought that up, because that's one of my favorite examples to use when I'm talking about putting fires out in my business is, whack-a-mole at put one fire out at a time, or hit one wall at a time. And it's also my favorite carnival game, not for nothing. So thank you, Joe Heenan, for being on the show today.
Oh, pleasure to be here, Sharon. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right, John. So you've been in the agency world for a while on the agency side, I believe on the brand side, and now you're coaching agencies through their own business development challenges. And what really interested me in our conversation today, and there were a number of topics, because you've got so much great content on your site, so there were a number of topics we could have explored, but I think given the time and given the anxiety level, right now among some agencies, what I really would love to talk about is pipeline and what to do if you're an agency owner and you are worried or maybe panicked that your pipeline is dry. We are all familiar in the professional services world with feast and famine marketing, right? You get busy, you do the work, you do the work, you do the work, all of a sudden you look over your shoulder and there's nothing in the pipeline to keep your team busy. So when you have agency clients who come to you with this issue, tell me a little bit about what you say to them and how you talk them through the process.
Yeah, it is the number one question when I first meet with a new agency is, what can I do about my pipeline? I have either had years of new clients come over the threshold, referrals, recommendations, lead gen forms on my website. I've never really had to do any formal business development, and yet things seem to be really slowing down. Maybe it was COVID, maybe it's whatever, but that is such a common theme amongst agencies, particularly small agencies or relatively young agencies. And so there's a couple of stages of maturity that I've seen with agencies, and that really begins with the energy and exuberance of starting that new agency with a fresh mission and vision for being different, and that's infectious in the marketplace and at networking events and other things. You connect with people and they send referrals, and you're off to the races. The agency's growing, great new clients come, and you really kind of perfect your craft. But at some point, sooner or later, that kind of plateaus, and then that pipeline begins to dry up. Or the other scenario is with more mature agencies. They typically do some sort of branding session. They want to define the agency in a way that is relevant or new or reflective of what the market is doing. And so they all get together, they develop a new brand strategy, maybe a new identity, put the flag in the ground, everybody's happy, and then they're off to servicing their clients. And before you know it, 1 year passes, 2 years pass, 5 years pass, that pipeline dries up, and the agency is shaking their head wondering what happened. We do great work, we have great clients, where are all the new leads? And that's really a reflection of being out of step with the market, because what you represented 5 years ago in a market that has just changed so dramatically in the last couple of years, you begin to look dated, out of step, maybe irrelevant, and you're not talking or reflecting what is in demand in the marketplace today. The one thing for sure, this business is changing rapidly, and I think it's kind of like Moore's law, that it's changing at an accelerated pace every year because of all that's going on around us. So
Right.
I think the number one issue that causes that pipeline to begin to slow or dry up is being out of sync with the marketplace.
Right. So that's interesting. I hadn't thought of that as really a driver of this. So what I hear more often is maybe not that the agency is not relevant, or maybe not that it doesn't understand its market, but mostly it's just either sensing softening demand because of clients that are worried about the economy, or it's sensing price resistance because of concerns about the economy, or it's typically, and maybe they should be more worried about the relevance question, because you're right, maybe they haven't freshened as recently as they've needed to, or maybe they have more traditional problems, like they're not niching properly, or they're not talking about themselves in the right ways. But what do you do when an agency comes to you, and let's assume it's not lack of freshness, let's assume that they are but they're just anxious because their pipeline is not as full as it needs to be, or it's getting empty. What are some of the fast start things that you usually talk agency owners through to get them to make some quick corrections? And I know this is a long game, right? But I think it feels like there's probably some short-term things you can work on while you get the long-term things in place.
Yeah, great point. The issues of price sensitivity or market demand, current environments, all of those kind of economic headwinds, all those things are kind of table stakes in our business. They come and they go. Agencies and any businesses, have to sort of ride those waves as a part, of course, of doing business. If it was just that kind of shrink and expand of the market, then the sort of tactics would be different. The things that you could do would be different. But I find, talking to agency owners and when I get a chance to look under the hood of, what's going on with the agency, there are a number of things that aren't working right, including, what kind of service offerings they have, what they look like to the marketplace, from whether they're modern and contemporary, or kind of dull and dusty, and the people that they have in their leadership, quite a number of factors that play into that. But regardless of what the issues are, when the market demand shrinks significantly, there are a couple of things that agencies should do to try and get new business coming quick, because the way that I think about it is a prospecting program is really made for that long game. As you said, it's really best suited for finding better clients that are more in line with the overall vision of the agency, where you want to evolve to or where you want to grow to. For short-term opportunity, it's interesting. I think it's Salesforce or somebody who did some survey about the B2B marketplace and determined that only about 3 to 5% of your opportunity is looking for business today. They're ready to buy today. And the rest of them, the 97 to 95%, are going to buy at some point in the future. So when agencies typically think, oh, I got to shake the bushes, I got to get something right now, what they're really talking about is, how do I get that 3%, that true needle in the haystack, versus a more strategic approach to better opportunities long term. But that said, the best way to generate new business fast is to attack your networks. The leadership of the agency should all go out to their LinkedIn networks, their other networks, their friends, and just start talking to them. Sort of reintroducing yourself, talking about your agency, giving them value in terms of what might be happening that would be of interest to them, and in return, ask them if they know any company that might possibly be in need of an agency or is unhappy with their agency relationship, or other, there's some very strategic forms of communication to use when you're networking that you can get opportunity to come out of that. And referrals or recommendations are really the most fertile ground for agencies to develop new client relationships. And so I counsel all of my agencies, you should be doing that regularly,
Right.
but double down when things are getting tough to leverage that as much as you can.
Yeah, it's interesting how how easily we forget to farm, right? When we are putting together these sophisticated business development programs, or we're in the midst of serving a client, it seems like the hunting comes easier to agencies than the farming does, and the farming is really probably more fertile in most cases. And so I'm wondering though, do you have a point of view about what has a faster turnaround? Is it reaching out to current or former clients themselves, or is it reaching out to your referral sources first? If you had to pick a 1-2, what do you usually counsel most agencies to start?
I'd go to referral sources first,
Okay.
but I would very quickly follow with past clients, past agency employees, professional networks, anybody who could have some purview of opportunity, or people they know, even if they don't know that there's opportunity, people who are decision makers that they could just make an introduction. And it's amazing when agencies actually do that. It kind of invigorates them to be back out, instead of head down in client work, to be back out, talking to the marketplace, talking to people, hearing points of view, and that kind of cascades into desire to do more networking and uncovering clues and opportunities. It really is a very therapeutic activity as well as a business development activity.
Right. It probably stimulates some creativity, right? All
Yes,
around.
exactly.
Yeah.
And to your earlier point, for the number of years I've been in the agency business, the agencies that I've seen or talked to or worked with who are really fast growth, they're high growth agencies that seem to really do it well, have something in common that surprised me at first when I sort of discovered this and talked to them about it. But when most agencies think about generating new business, the first thing that comes to their mind is, oh yeah, let's do prospecting, cold prospecting. Let's hire a business development person and send them out there and wind them up, and they'll go kill some fresh game and bring it back in. But in truth, these high growth agencies really focus their time equally across 3 different channels. And one, of course, everyone knows about is organic growth, getting more business out of your current clients, because you theoretically you have a good relationship and you've demonstrated your ability and you have good trust. So it's relatively easy to get new business. That is hard to scale, of course, because you only have so many clients and opportunity. But they work that channel with a strategy and with milestones and accountability for working that channel, just like you would with any kind of marketing strategy. And the results, really come out of that. The same is true for referrals and recommendations. Those agencies are very good at having their leadership work all of those relationships. And again, they have strategies to do that, and they hold people accountable, and they get about 1/3 of new revenue out of that channel as well. And then finally, prospecting, cold prospecting, which is truly the hardest thing to do of all of the possibilities. but it's important for most agencies because it allows you to scale. It allows you to reach farther than you could in the other means, and allows you to enter new markets or seize new opportunities if you like. So, but they seem to balance their revenue new revenue portfolio, almost equally across those three channels, and a lot of agencies don't think about that.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I certainly would not have guessed if someone had asked me that the proportions were equal to each other. And it really does show you the profitability of your time spent, right? Because you would assume one way might lead to bigger profits or riches than the other, and they all come out about even. So you need to be diverse and figure out a way to tackle each channel. That makes a lot of sense. All right, so we've reached out to our networks. We've talked to current and former clients. We've started with referral partners first. So that's sort of some of the low-hanging fruit that we hope will turn around some quicker results for us, especially if we're scrambling. What's the next thing that you usually steer them into?
Yeah, in more difficult times, when it's really important to get new revenue in the shop. Prospecting does play a role in that, and what you really need to do is sort of recalibrate how you're prospecting and what you're saying to the marketplace to be more applicable to what kinds of demand is happening in a down market. It never goes dark, right? There's always need for advertising agency services, and so it's a matter of maybe you no longer will just look for AOR relationships or $100,000 in net profit relationships, or whatever your criteria is. It's time to adjust to what the market can bear, and so it may be smaller projects, it may be just project work instead of something big during this downtime, of course with an eye on when you can come back out of that and get back to your overall strategy. But when COVID first hit, we knew that digital marketing was going to be in high demand because everybody's shifting from their physical activities to their to being digital. And so agencies, I think in the first year of COVID, agencies actually, while there were a few that didn't make it, overall the market was up like 6% at a time when everybody predicted doom and gloom. And that's really because of the high demand and capitalization on the demand for digital marketing activities. Now that we've come out of COVID and we have tough economic headwinds to work through, marketers are really thinking much shorter term results than bigger, longer term brand building. And so agencies who are offering short-term solutions to help marketers out of the troubles they're in are going to be seen more favorably and likely to pick up more opportunity by really aligning their offering to what people are buying today in the market. Now, that's not to say that everybody's working that way. Some marketers, are bucking the trends and spending big, but for the general situation for smaller agencies, I think that's really important.
Have you seen any of the agencies that you collaborate with or that you coach have success in their prospecting activities by sort of creating a done with you or do it yourself offering for their target clients, maybe training or maybe workshopping or paid discovery? Or have you seen an uptick in that as a way to sort of not only get some quick wins maybe, but also as a shoehorn in the prospecting activity to maybe a larger relationship later?
It's interesting. You mentioned training. A few years ago, that was in somewhat demand. I think pre the dawning of in-house agencies, right? Prior to that, I think their agencies were having some success doing training to marketing organizations that didn't have the kinds of resources that they have today. But that really seems to, from what I can see, sort of really disappeared for the most part, because what is it, statistically 80% of marketers today have some sort of in-house capabilities, from full service agency down to graphic design or production or whatever the case may be. But the truth is, now compared to 5 years ago, there are a lot more resources that agencies are competing with that are inside of the brands that they're trying to go after.
Okay.
So they're not looking for training. They're not looking for much help in those kinds of areas, and I haven't seen agencies being successful much with that at all.
Okay. So we've got work your networks, clients and referral partners. We've got figure out your prospecting game. That's going to take longer, right, to show some ROI. But maybe thinking of some more discrete or project-based offerings.
Yeah, trying to match up with the short-term needs of the marketplace today.
Right. That makes sense. Okay, what would you throw into the mix next then, after that, knowing that it would take have a longer tail in terms of ROI?
Yeah, just a quick side note. I think in the first year of COVID, I was talking to an agency owner. It's a branding agency who'd been around for 30 years and very successful business. And he was telling me that, he typically charges about 80 grand for a branding project. And now in the midst of COVID, he's had to continually lower his price. And now he's said he's basically selling the same services for 8 grand and wondering what business he should be in.
Yeah, that's not good.
So to your question, prospecting is an important part of the overall process that you need to do for business development. Right. And as right now, as things are beginning to open back up again, network conferences, trade conferences, other in-person events are coming back more and more, and also some hybrid events. Those activities based on the niche that you service or the industries that you service are becoming much more viable as a business development tool. And because those are date specific, where that the marketing executives are going to be there, and you have opportunities within that venue to meet with them and talk with them. I've talked to a number of agencies who are beginning to see more and more project work and relationships come out of those sorts of things. So if agency owners are wondering, is that are we back to normal in that space now? I don't know if there'll ever be any normal, but a lot of activity is coming back that way. So another very viable way to make some quick hits short term.
Okay, I love it. That makes a lot of sense to me. And I've always believed in the power of spending time where your clients spend their time instead of where your competitors spend their time.
Exactly.
For sure. Yeah. So we've touched on a couple of your examples, sort of the new order in terms of the way agencies approach business development, specifically pre-pandemic and today. And are you seeing agencies really wholesale look at their pitching and presentation strategies? I know you have a school of thought about pitching overall, and we can certainly talk about that. I'd love to get your take on that and when agencies should do it, or if they should ever do it. But to the extent that they do it, or they make presentations for new business purposes, are you seeing success rates challenged at all by doing it virtually, for example, versus in person? Are you seeing any new or creative ways that agencies are getting in front of their prospects to show them the work? What are you seeing out there in the marketplace right now in terms of prospecting?
Yeah, I think the pitching process was really ugly at the start of virtual pitching when
Uh-huh.
agency people, the good ones, had really mastered the art of the pitch, which is a whole nother story to talk about. But doing it virtually, doing it on Zoom, just totally threw all of that out the window. And it was interesting to watch, innovative agencies try and capture that medium as best as they could to do, be more effective pitching. But I think overall, the opinion is that, that made it so much harder to win. At the end of the day, the same number of people win in a virtual pitch as they do in a live pitch, but the experiences that agencies have were really challenged, and their ability to read the room, to build relationships, to look for the tells and other things that are a part of that whole pitching process. They were disarmed, and so the feelings that agencies expressed coming out of those virtual pitches were really sad. even for those that won. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you did one of your pieces on your site and your blog, you state that it's only about in 15% of the time, and I think that's a high number, that the prospect goes into the pitch process not knowing who they're going to pick anyway, right? So I think small agencies need to really revisit that strategy for lots of reasons. And there's other experts who are actual experts. I'm certainly not one of those people, but who are not high on pitching or RFPs in general for small and mid-sized agencies. But it's a decision every agency owner has to make for themselves. I was just curious on your perspective on how people are doing it these days, and whether you're seeing a difference in the win rates. And it doesn't sound like you are. It sounds like it's not. No. It's like a net. Okay.
And I think generally speaking, agencies are pitching less, are more reluctant to pitch, that the costs involved both in time and money for the agencies are being scrutinized, to a greater degree now. And so, particularly in the small size, I see less agencies wanting to, go at, a pitch. Certainly, in some cases you just can't avoid it. I mean, in large agencies, that's the way of the world. So, my strategy, regardless of agency size, is, to really do the things before the pitch that put you in a much better place if you do pitch than just being one of 10 unknowns coming into the beauty contest. But I am definitely one that recommends that agencies think very hard about getting involved in the pitch process. And if they do, and they don't go all in and go to win, then it's even worse that they're wasting time and they're not going to win. So
right. Well, it's very expensive and disruptive to participate in the process. So you have to have a clear reason for doing it, I think. So what are you seeing on the horizon the next 6 to 12 months? I know there's some anxiety. I think what I've been saying for the last 6 to 9 months is what I still say, and that's that nobody really knows what's going to happen economically or what impact it's truly going to have. But there's enough skittishness out there right now as we're sitting, this is April 2023, about where the economy will land the rest of the year, that it's affecting the conversations that agencies have. So what are you seeing around the corner, either in techniques or in readiness that agencies need to have for business development? What's your crystal ball telling you for the next 6 months?
I think this too shall pass. Those of us that have been in this business long enough have certainly been through the ups and downs. I remember way back when, during the 2008 recession, I had 5 technology prospects who were ready to sign. It was a wonderful time that suddenly crashed. So thank goodness we're not in that. But I think that agencies should do the things that we had been talking about in terms of working that network to sort of realign what they're selling to what things are being purchased today, and what the way that marketers are thinking about how much commitment they want to make, and what they can do, because there's nothing an agency can do about a brand or a marketer that doesn't have a budget or can't get approval. So you really have to sort of follow the marketer and provide her or him with the things that are really going to be helpful to them right now. And then from a long-term standpoint, is to take whatever time that you have, which is never very much, but to sort of reassess your overall business development plan and what things that you want to do when we come out of this kind of downturn, because we will. And you really want to be prepared for that. And as a matter of fact, not only prepared, but you want to kind of be leading the charge when things open up. And there's key times of the year that this business is very seasonal in terms of new budget years and new fiscal years and things that sort of set the cadence of the marketplace. And so you want to be looking at those times and what you plan to sell or offer from an expertise standpoint, from a tactical standpoint, from a strategy or a vision standpoint, all the things that marketers are looking for from their agency partners. And you want to have that ready to be able to push out into the marketplace when those new times come up, when opportunity begins to open up again.
Yeah, it can be a brief window, I think, in some situations to actually take that breather to assess what the next iteration of your agency is going to look like too. And I realize not all businesses have that luxury, right, of taking that step back. So I think you really, John, presented a good balance of things to take action on immediately in the short term. Love the suggestion of working networks, along with participating in the events and conferences and things that your client base tends to congregate at, and then layering on top of that the prospecting and figuring out how to do that efficiently. A good combination of long-term, short-term strategies, which I think everybody needs some blend of anytime, no matter what the economy is doing. So really appreciate your expertise today. This has been a helpful way to sort of segregate some quick steps with some longer term thinking. It's always good to balance those against one another. So I would love for agencies to know where to get in touch with you and where to consume some of your content. Your site has a lot of really great resources and information. And so where can agency leaders go to find all of that out, and where can they find you?
Well, that's the best question you've asked all day.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I've been in this business development business for quite some time now, and I still am out in the market doing the work day to day, hands-on, on behalf of my clients. So, I post a lot of content about those experiences as they happen to me, real time out in the marketplace. And that's the genesis of the posts that are up on my site that is free and open to anybody to read. And that's at www.jheenan.com, jheenan.com. And you can sign up for my newsletter there, if you like, and read more about the kinds of services that I offer and what I think about agency business development.
That's great. I particularly recommend the whack-a-mole piece. I enjoyed that a great deal, and I think it had a lot of good takeaways in it. So, John, thank you so much for sharing your expertise today with
Well,
us.
thank you, Sharon.
And I think I think you definitely helped some agencies out there think about this and giving them some confidence in some of the things that they can do now and in the future. And so appreciate you being on Innovative Agency today. Thank you so much.